Firaxis Games has released the first trailer for Marvel's Midnight Suns, set to debut in March 2022. Pokémon has been going strong for 2 decades and counting. The Pokémon trading card game has been going strong throughout most of that period. The game will feature a dozen Marvel heroes alongside a customizable original character called the Hunter, who is deeply connected to the game's central antagonist, Lilith, the mother of demons. The Hunter is Lilith's daughter. The game is a loose adaptation of the 1992 team-up crossover, Rise of the Midnight Suns, by Richard Case, Dan G. Chichester, Christian Cooper, Ron Garney, Len Kaminski, Andy Kubert, Howard Mackey, and Ron Wagner. In the original comic story, Doctor Strange has to put together a team to defeat Lilith. That team consisted of 9 beings with ties to magical realms, loosely collected as the Midnight Suns, later the Order of the Midnight Suns, with the initial purpose of opposing Lilith and her demonic spawn, the Lilin. For proof, look no further than the fact that it was the top-selling strategic card game in 2016. As such, it should come as no surprise to learn that Pokémon cards can be quite valuable. The game alters Suns to Suns, and brings some of the Marvel Universe's more popular heroes into the fold, but otherwise the premise is similar. With all that in mind, here's a breakdown of all the main Marvel characters spotted in the Marvel's Midnight Suns trailer. Captain America. The first hero seen in the trailer is one not traditionally associated with magic or the occult, Captain America, specifically the Steve Rogers version. The first Avengers member, Rogers was as a soldier in World War II before volunteering for Project Rebirth, which saw him injected with Dr. None save for the rarest of the rare can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, people who once collected Pokémon cards might be interested to know that there are Charizard cards that can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. Remember Charizard? Different Pokémon fans favor different generations of Pokémon. This makes sense because different people were introduced to the franchise at different points in time, meaning that they are going to have different biases. Abraham Erskine's Super Soldier Serum. The only one of its kind, the serum enhanced Rogers' physical attributes to superhuman levels, including agility, reflexes, stamina, and strength. For example, chances are good that someone who started playing in Generation I will have a preference for Generation I Pokémon. In contrast, chances are good that someone who started playing in Generation 8 will have a preference for Generation 8 Pokémon. He was also given a disc-shaped shield made of a vibranium proto-adamantium steel alloy with aerodynamic properties, nigh indestructibility, easy utility as an effective weapon. Rogers was frozen in ice during a battle against the Red Skull, and although he was long presumed dead, he was instead effectively in suspended animation thanks to his serum-enhanced body. However, there are a small number of Pokémon that have been favored over the course of multiple generations, thus enabling them to stand head and shoulders over most of their counterparts. In the comics, he was discovered by Namor the Sub-Mariner and thawed, to be revived by the newly formed Avengers. Charizard can be considered an excellent example. Captain America has fought against all sorts of villains, from Nazis to rogue super soldiers and aliens, but at no point has he ever been a member of the Midnight Suns. He's faced enemies of the more supernatural or magical variety before, however, such as Dormammu and the Serpent, and at the trailer's end he's seen sporting gold-tinted armor and a shield adorned with mystical symbols. Iron Man. Another of the first heroes we see in the trailer is Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, a brilliant inventor, industrialist, and weapons manufacturer who builds, among other things, a succession of Iron Man suits. Each suit is capable of flight, augments Tony's strength, resiliency, and defense, and gives him a variety of powers and capabilities to fight various foes in specific contexts. As Iron Man, Tony became a foundational member of the Avengers, though, like Captain America, he was never a member of the Midnight Suns in their brief comics run. Iron Man has developed suits for other heroes, most notably James Rhodes' War Machine armor and Peter Parker's Iron Spider suit. Most importantly, his endless capacity for tinkering has produced an exhaustive array of powerful suits for every situation one can think of, from his Hydro armor to his Silver Centurion armor and even his famous Hulkbuster suit. There are a number of reasons why Charizard is so popular. While Iron Man isn't typically the first call against magical enemies, he has developed armors for the task. His Thorbuster Model 23 armor is powered by Asgardian crystal, infusing it with magical energy, while his Model 48 armor is built of actual iron and specifically developed for killing dark elves. Its first evolution Charmander was one of the 3 starter Pokémon of Generation I, meaning that it was one of the 3 Pokémon that introduced people to the franchise as a whole. Moreover, it is worth mentioning that Charmander was considered to be the challenging starter, which provided it with a sense of extra status. Perhaps his most impressive magical armor was seen in the Fear Itself storyline. The Uru armor covered in Asgardian Uru and enchanted with Asgardian magic. While the armor Tony wears in the trailer doesn't seem to be based on these designs, it no doubt was built for fighting magical nemeses. Captain Marvel Major Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, is easily one of the more powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. While she gains powers from exposure to the Tesseract in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the comics her powers derive from exposure to the Psyche Magnetron, a Kree machine that can alter living beings, giving them superpowers. The effect transformed her into a Kree-human hybrid gifted with vast superhuman strength, stamina, agility, and durability, as well as flight, in air as well as space. She has enhanced healing, the ability to sometimes have precognition over enemy attacks, and can control, absorb, and manipulate different kinds of energy, including the ability to emit blasts and change matter at the molecular level. At one point, Danvers was further modified into the cosmically powered Binary, her powers brought to full fruition. As Binary, she had even greater control over the energy spectrum and her other powers were further enhanced. Captain Marvel isn't typically associated with magic or magical villains, and she's certainly not connected with the Midnight Suns in the comics. After all, Bulbasaur had the advantage against the first 2 gyms while Squirtle had the advantage against the first gym. Recent storylines have put Captain Marvel directly into magical territory, attempting to learn the mystical arts to avoid a potential weakness that will provoke a dark future. In contrast, Charmander had the disadvantage against not one but both of the first 2 gyms, meaning that winning with it was a sign of the player's perseverance. After many magical heroes refuse to aid her learning, she turns to the Asgardian enchantress Amora. Second, Charizard has a design that is considered cool by a wide range of people out there. A dangerous bargain indeed. It is unknown if the game will draw from these stories or provide a different one, but the Suns certainly have a powerhouse on their side. Dr. Stephen Strange started out as a neurosurgeon before becoming a master of the mystic arts, and eventually Earth's sorcerer supreme upon the death of his mentor, the Ancient One. The catalyst for his career shift was a fateful car accident that damaged his hands. It led him to seek out the mystical Kamar Taj in Tibet, whose magical capacities allowed him to heal himself before taking on said mantle. As Sorcerer Supreme, his main magical energies and capacities are derived from the Vishanti, a trio of vastly powerful beings named Agamotto, Hoggoth, and Ashtor. In Marvel parlance he often uses a form of eldritch magic, allowing him to achieve vast magical feats through various incantations and hand movements, often with an orange energetic tint. If it's a magical feat, he can perform it. Astral projection, flight, telepathy, magical bolts, protective shields, transportation portals, transmutation, and a variety of other spells. He's one of the most powerful sorcerers in all reality. It isn't just a one-for-one copy of either a real-world animal or a real-world object. Simultaneously, it isn't over-designed, thus enabling it to avoid the excess of the other extreme. He's also capable of taking the power or ability of another entity, a technique he's used against Shuma Gorath and Captain Universe. He's a founder of the Midnight Suns in the comics, and undoubtedly central to the game's world. Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes. The Ghost Riders are a team of spirits of vengeance with mysterious origins. On top of that, Charizard is a fire-breathing dragon, meaning that it taps into a pre-existing reservoir of coolness that has been built up by centuries after centuries of storytelling. Third, Charizard is a solid Pokémon for competitive battling. The most common interpretation is that they are typically benevolent beings who protect humanity as exemplars of divine power and wrath, though it's been sometimes posited that they may derive their powers from Mephisto and serve his will. It's complicated. It boasts excellent stats. Even better, it has the right moves to make use of those excellent stats. As such, a well-built Charizard can do quite well as either a sweeper meant for clearing out opposing teams once it has been properly buffed or a wallbreaker for smashing through particularly stubborn obstacles in its way. Fourth, Charizard's popularity means that it has received more attention than the overwhelming majority of its counterparts. As such, its popularity is something of a self-reinforcing phenomenon because these incidents serve to make it matter to newer Pokémon fans. There have been many Ghost Riders over the years, given that it's more of a position than a person, but each has near godlike supernatural power. This can be seen in how Charizard received not one but two Mega Evolutions in Generation V, as well as how Charizard received a Gigantamax in Generation 7. Naturally, this means that Charizard cards have been quite valuable in the Pokémon trading card game. One of the more well-known iterations of the character is former stuntman Johnny Blaze, but the current version, and the one who appears in the game, is Robbie Reyes, a young man who was burned alive in his car by criminals before becoming possessed and emerging as a Ghost Rider. While transformed into the Ghost Rider, they each have strength, speed, and durability that rival even the toughest heroes, as well as regeneration, pyrokinesis, specifically mystical hellfire that burns souls as well as physical bodies, supernatural chains, and a penance stare that provokes its target to feel all the pain and suffering they've caused innocents. Of course, some of those have been much more sought after than others, which is why interested individuals might want to look to see if they have something truly valuable on their hands. How can you tell if your Charizard card is rare or not? Once upon a time, people have a much more limited range of options for determining the price of a Pokémon card. Nowadays, the use of the Internet is ubiquitous, which in turn means that interested individuals have options that would have been unimaginable a couple of decades ago. Ghost Riders typically also have supernaturally possessed vehicles, like Johnny Blaze's Hellcycle and Robbie Reyes' Hellcharger. Ghost Riders were pivotal in the foundation of the Midnight Suns as some of the most important supernatural entities in the Marvel Universe. Nico Minoru in Runaways, a group of teenagers discover that their superpowered parents are part of the Pride, an evil criminal organization, and they band together in an attempt to thwart the group's evil plans. After an initial betrayal, the group comes to be led by Nico Minoru, the daughter of dark wizards. If someone wants to know the rarity of a Charizard card, they can just look it up on a suitable database. Of course, they might want to make sure that what they see is true, which is why they should look it up on multiple databases. Something that search engines make very easy. For that matter, interested individuals should also make sure that they know exactly which Charizard card they have on hand. While her technologies change over her comics history, Nico has an odd ability. Whenever she bleeds, a weapon called the Staff of One appears to allow her to bend magic and cast almost any spell imaginable. This is extremely important because there have been more than 40 Charizard cards released since the start of the game. Even if one excludes the ones that clearly stand out from the rest, there are still a lot of Charizard cards left over. She's an extremely powerful mage, with powers deriving from dark magic as evidenced by her background, and the purple color of the magic in use. Nico hasn't historically been a member of the Midnight Suns. Her first appearance was in 2003's Runaways 1, so that would have been impossible. But she's a great member of the team, deeply connected to the magical arts, and from a uniquely dark source, as well as extremely powerful. As such, a bit of caution can be very helpful when figuring out information about collectibles like this. What determines whether a Pokémon card is valuable or not? In any case, there are a number of factors that determine the value of a Pokémon card. For example, the popularity of a particular Pokémon means that every card featuring that Pokémon tends to get a price boost. Similarly, the mechanical usefulness of a particular Pokémon card has a similar effect on how it can fetch in a sale. However, it is the rarity of a Pokémon card that can propel it into truly awe-inspiring prices. It's no accident that in the trailer, the hunter re-emerges from the combined magical abilities of Doctor Strange, Nico, and the Ghost Rider. It takes adept and powerful magic, and Nico has that and more. Wolverine, one of the most resilient superpowered beings. Wolverine is the alias of James Howlett, who later adopted the moniker Logan.
Born in 19th-century Canada, Logan has claws in each hand, keen animalistic senses, and a regenerative healing factor that renders him almost entirely immune to damage. Wolverine's famous temper is an unfortunate side effect of his combination of powers, as every time he uses his claws, they rip through newly healed skin and cause him extensive pain. This should come as no surprise. After all, a lack of availability combined with a considerable degree of desirability makes for higher prices, particularly since a lack of availability can be a driver of desirability for a lot of people out there. In some cases, the rarity is very much intentional. For instance, there is a reason that Pokémon cards are divided into different rarities. Having said that, there are plenty of cases in which the rarity was very much not intentional, as shown by the various misprints that have occurred over the course of the game's existence. His essential invulnerability was further augmented when the Weapon X program affixed the nigh-indestructible metal adamantium to his bones, making the already invincible man even more impervious to damage. While Wolverine is nearly invulnerable, he's not traditionally associated with opposing mystical combatants and certainly isn't a traditional member of the Midnight Suns. He's not unfamiliar with magical terrain, however, having served on the X-Men with Magic and the Scarlet Witch. In the trailer he's clearly augmented with runes and other magically adapted properties, and we see him fight as a powerhouse against Lilith's foot soldiers, likely the Lilin. So we'll undoubtedly get a lot of the mutant who stands as the best at what he does. The Hunter. While the Midnight Suns game will include a dozen Marvel heroes that range from the popular Wolverine, Captain America, Captain Marvel, to the less well-known Nico, etc. The game is also notable for creating a customizable original character with a backstory deeply connected to Lilith and her dark plans, the Hunter. Besides this, there is the matter of condition as well. Pokémon cards are cards. As a result, an example that hasn't been cared for can see a lot of wear and tear, with the result that it loses most of its value. The long hibernating daughter of Lilith, the mother of demons, she's an original creation with an axe to grind against her apocalypse-demanding mother. The trailer sees our Midnight Suns heroes casting an apparently difficult, powerful spell to release the Hunter as part of their strategy to stop Lilith's plans to unleash the deadly Kathan against the world. It's up to the Hunter to bring balance, and according to the creator of Marvel's Midnight Suns, the Hunter's attributes will be highly customizable. She'll have over 40 powers and abilities to choose from. She'll fight alongside Marvel Titans like Iron Man, Captain America, and Doctor Strange, and boasts a strong pedigree for a new character as the daughter of one of the Marvel Universe's more powerful foes. Kathan. The Marvel Universe is known for a wide host of powerful villains, from tyrants like Thanos and Doctor Doom to entities like Dormammu, Mephisto, and Shuma-Gorath. One of the most dangerous of these threats is Kathan, an elder god billions of years old who became the universe's first black magician in his lust for understanding the universe's magical forces. While the elder gods of the universe engaged in war a billion years ago or more, Kathan escaped by creating another dimension. If interested individuals want full price, they are going to want to make sure that their card is in either perfect or near perfect condition, which is one of the reasons that card sleeves are so popular. About the author Lily Wordsmith. More from this author Lily Wordsmith. LilyWordsmith.com, is a freelance writer who has had a love affair with the written word for decades. He left one extremely notable artifact in this realm, a text of his magical discoveries, known as the Darkhold. Upon leaving, Kathan became trapped in his dimension, still able to influence Earth's events through individuals who found the Darkhold, but unable to escape and conquer. You can find her writing blog posts and articles while sitting under a tree at the local park watching her kids play, or typing away on her tablet in line at the DMV. In addition to her freelance career, she is pursuing ebook writing with an ever-growing repertoire of witty ebooks to her name. Her diversity is boundless, and she has written about everything from astrobotany to zookeepers. Her real passions are her family, baking desserts and writing science fiction. He spawned a variety of races, including the Goblins, the Wolfmen of Velusia, the Harpies, and others, and the first Marvel vampires were created using his power. In the game, according to Firaxis, Lilith will stop at nothing to complete an ancient prophecy and summon her evil master, Cathon.
We're certain to see the higher stakes of Cathon's potential catastrophic emergence, but it seems that Lilith will be the big bad this round. Lilith, Mother of Demons. Lilith is a powerful and ancient entity with a history that predates humanity. Although like most ancient, fearsome entities, her origin story has changed more than once. Lilith reportedly was pivotal in early human development, seducing Adam, the first man, and becoming his first wife before abandoning him and their children, the Mazikam. Her children were murdered, and Lilith vowed revenge against our species. One of her earlier re-emergences was in Atlantis 20,000 years ago, where she opposed the original order of the Midnight Suns. She has a long history adjoining pantheons, ruling kingdoms, and causing chaos, and she has a huge array of powers to do so. Her attributes sometimes vary, but she's always a formidable sorceress whose powers include green energy blasts, protective walls, teleportation, and other skills. Most notably, Lilith can spawn a variety of demons known as Lilin, powerful creatures who are typically extremely loyal to her, and she also gains more power relative to the number of them on Earth. In the original Midnight Suns comics, the organization forms in order to combat Lilith and her plans on Earth, so the game seems to be a fairly straightforward adaptation on that front. There are a number of other villains shown in the trailer, and these are most likely going to be explained as Lilith of some variety. Bladeblade, also known as Eric Brooks, is perhaps the most famous literary dhampir, half-human, half-vampire. His mother was killed by Deacon Frost, and certain vampire traits were passed along in the womb without transforming him into a full-fledged vampire. Blade spends his life at war against vampires, particularly against their predations on and plans against humanity. Originally in the comics, Blade had no real superhuman abilities other than a resistance to being turned by a vampire, and possible resistance against vampire hypnosis. Once bitten by Morbius the living vampire, he became far closer to a true dhampir, with a healing ability and other superhuman traits. Blade is a scourge to vampires, but not widely known for his adeptness wielding the magical arts. That said, he's been a pivotal member of the Midnight Suns team before. The Nightstalkers, Blade, Frank Drake, and Hannibal King were all key members, and from the trailer it looks like Blade will get some substantial combat duty here. The trailer sees him involved in major plot elements like the awakening of the Hunter, as well as serving as a key combatant in the later large battle scenes. Magik Ilyana Rasputina, also known as Magik, is one of Marvel's mutants. She's Colossus' sister, actually, who is capable of teleporting over space and time. She was kidnapped at the age of 6 by Belasco, an ancient demonic sorcerer who worships the Elder Gods, and taken to Limbo for a long period of time. Eventually she manifests the Soul Sword, allowing her to defeat Belasco. Her use of the Soul Sword makes it more powerful, and she becomes covered with an eldritch armor that gets stronger over time. What's more, she absorbs mystical knowledge from Belasco, Aurora Munro, and even Doctor Strange, becoming the Sorceress Supreme of the Limbo dimension, and one of the more powerful sorcerers in the Marvel Universe. Magik shows off her teleportation powers in the trailer and sports a fantastically mystical set of eldritch armor in the final scene, gold, horned, and powerful with a flaming soul sword. No word yet if we'll spend any time in Limbo, but certainly Magik will stand out as one of the more interesting members of the Midnight Suns, a deeply mystical character without a Midnight Suns background but one who still fits the bill swimmingly.